life's busy for all of us, and it's no different with Faye Stenning. She is an entrepreneur, a top-level athlete, and on top of all that, she's trained for trail races in the middle of New York City. So how does she manage it all? Well, listen to this interview and you'll find out. Cool. So you are the owner of Grit Coaching. First of all, how long have you and Jess, who we interviewed 2 weeks ago on the podcast, how long have you guys been partners in Grit Coaching?
We started the business in 2017. Yeah. So I guess what is that? 3-4 years?
3.5 at least.
3.5. Yeah. Wow. Yeah. Crazy.
Yeah, time flies. So how do you balance being an athlete and entrepreneur? And is that different than when you were an athlete and an employee?
Yeah, because when I was an athlete and an employee, I didn't really care about my performance at work because no one was really checking it. I just had to show up, do some shit. And then at 4:30, I would just leave. And I would forget about work, and that was how my job was. So it was actually easier in a weird way because I didn't have this deep passion for it, and I didn't care about it. Now with being a business owner, and now with working with so many athletes that I actually really care about, there's pressure on both ends. But I just think you got to let go of being a perfectionist, being a perfectionist on both of those things. It's I'm not always going to get back to my athletes in 24 hours. Sometimes, I'm going to be late on an email, and I'm not always going to get exactly 10 miles in that I had on my training thing, because sometimes work comes up and I'm, 8 and whatever. So I think just letting go of being okay with just being okay with being enough is enough, and letting go of even just things my apartment is never going to be clean. My bed's not going to be made. I just don't have that much time in a day to do those things. And just being okay with not being oh, my life's a mess because I can't do everything exactly perfectly as I had planned. You're just I made it. 80% is where I am, because you're just doing so many different things. I just sort of say letting go is really important. You're trying to be fairly high level at a couple things. Yeah, and I think just there's a lot of opportunities for efficiencies that every day I'm finding out a quicker way to do something. And that's important as well.
Yeah. Are there certain things that you have to prioritize, otherwise they don't get done when it comes to recovery from your workouts? Because obviously if you're working out at a high level, you can't get by on 4 hours of sleep for too long, so are there any things like sleep or recovery practices that you prioritize through your life?
Yeah, I always prioritize sleep as so important. That's the number one recovery tool is sleep. So I put that first and foremost. And that's honestly the only really recovery thing that I really religious about is sleep.
Yeah. So how's your sleep routine then? When bed every same time, wake up same time, or?
Yeah, it's been a lot easier now because like I said, I like to have a good time, and sometimes when restaurants and bars are open,
Sure.
that kind of slides. So right now it's been really easy. But I am having difficult sleeping now, and I don't know why. I think it's because I'm in my apartment so much that my body's confused. It's shouldn't we be out about doing things? And maybe I'm not as tired because I'm just in this apartment all day.
Sure.
But no, I just I have a certain sleep routine. I like to turn off the TV. I turn off my phone so I don't have all this light, and I try and remove myself from stressful situations. So I try not to open my email or even open Instagram, and I try and have 1 to 2 glasses of wine to help me sleep, but I won't have less than that. I won't have more than that, because then it impedes my sleep. And I do the melatonin, I do the CBD, I've got the blackout shades. I have my blue blocking glasses. It's a struggle to turn my mind off.
Sure.
I have this weird obsession that I'll sleep and I'll have all these ideas in my head, and I have a pad of paper and I'll write them down beside my bed, like in the middle of the night. And I'll wake up in the morning and I have like a huge list of my ideas, and like 75% of them are just so stupid. Like I can't, that's what's keeping me up. Like it would be like, text back so and so to set up this. And I'm like, why would that be keeping me up? Like that's such a dumb thing. Like so I'm still trying to figure out like how to like turn off my brain at night, and I haven't really figured that out, but sleep is so important, that's for sure.
Do you journal at all?
Yeah, I do a little bit. Not so much lately. I've just been like busy, and I feel like I have like nothing to journal about with the way the world is. Like another day, like working on my computer, running in the park, like nothing happened. Great.
Yeah. What I typically find for me is like, if I have my to-do list for tomorrow done, you know, the night prior, then I can sleep a lot better, because then I'm not worried about like, oh, I do have to text so-and-so or what have you. But no, I totally get your, like, I think I have my best ideas at night right before I go to bed. And I'm like, oh, that's a good idea. And then you're like trying to expand on it. And then you write it down. And then in the morning, you're like, that was a stupid idea. Like,
well, there you have it. If you'd like to hear the rest of the interview with Faye Stenning, you can go to Science of Sports Recovery on whatever podcast app that you have. The full audio version is there. Otherwise, you can subscribe and ring the bell here on YouTube, and we're coming out with more great content every week with top-level athletes and researchers for you